Okay, here we are on page 103 of our workbook. You get to put your name and number on the front side and your name and number on the green side. And then you get to take a pencil and cross out all of page 103. We are not going to be going over those things. I think it's really complicated. And if you will just follow the steps in your journal, you will know how to solve the problems you're expected to do. So go ahead and cross out all of page 103. Flip it over to page 104. Are you ready? It says mixed practice. Find the value of the expression. When possible, express your answer as a whole or mixed number. So they don't want you to leave it as an improper fraction. Okay? All right, let's take a look. Number 22, 4/5 multiplied by 3/7. There's no need for me to rewrite that. All I have to do is extend and connect the bar. And remember that I'm multiplying, so sometimes I rewrite that x as an x. Look for relationships between the top and the bottoms. Nope. Nope. So what do I do now? Multiply straight across. 4 times 3 is 12. 5 times 7 is 35. And it does not need to be simplified because I know it doesn't. It couldn't be simplified over here. But I like to just double check. It can't be. 12 and 35 can't be divided by the same number. Okay, let's do number 23. 4/5 minus... Oh, I hope you left your colors out. Sorry, that multiplication answer, we're going to circle it in yellow because it was multiplication. The subtraction, we're going to be circling it in this blue-green color. Okay? So, the first step was to stack it up. Remember? So we're going to go like this. And stack it clear up here. 4/5 minus 3/7. Now there's not going to be any borrowing here because I don't have a mixed number. Okay, don't forget that. It just should work out. So you've got to find the least common multiple between 5 and 7. You have to change those fractions into equivalent fractions. So I know that it's 35. If you didn't know that, you could have just counted by 7s until you got to a number that worked for 5. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35. That worked for that one. So how did I get from 7 to 35? I times by 5. And 3 times 5 is 15. Wiki wiki, make sure you're showing all your work. Next one, how did I get from 5 to 35? I times by 7, and 4 times 7 is 28. Wiki wiki, you should be getting really fast at that. Don't forget that it's subtract. 28 minus 15 is 13. And 35, those are just 35 stays as the denominator. It's stubborn and stays. So the answer is 13/35. Ooh, does it need to be simplified? Can you simplify 13/35? The answer is no, because the only factors that 13 has is 1 and 13, and 35 can't be divided by 13. So we're done. Next one, we're doing addition, so we're going to use our red violet. You know to do addition, you need to stack it up, so we're going to come right here and do the work. 1 1/2 plus 2/3 should look like that. I'm going to even make this longer. I don't do anything with the whole numbers until the end, remember? I have to look at the fractions and change the denominators to be something that's the same. 3 and 2, thirds and halves, can both change into sixths. How did I get from 3 to 6? I times by 2. Make sure you're writing this. And 2 times 2 is 4. Wiki wiki. How did I get from 2 to... You should just know 1/2 is 3/6. Okay? Wiki wiki. So 3/6 plus 4/6 is 7/6. Wow, that definitely needs to be fixed. 7/6 changes to, remember, if the numerator is just 1 more than the denominator, there's some quick tricks we learned. If the numerator is 1 more than the denominator, then it's 1 and 1, and then whatever the denominator was, 6. Because 7/6 means I had 6/6 plus 1 more, and 6/6 is a whole plus another one. So I'm not done. I also have this one over here. So this is that medal of honor that we've learned before. So you're combining 1 and then 1 and 1/6, which would make it 2 and 1/6. Final answer. Okay, number 25. 1 1/2 times 2/3. So to times them, we have to have everything be a fraction. So we change 1 1/2 into a fraction. You should be remembering that 1 1/2 is 3 halves. I had 1.5 candy bars, it's like having 3 half candy bars. If you didn't know, you could go multiply then add. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2. And then I keep the other fraction. So now I just extend the bar, and I'm following the steps from our journal from earlier. Let me show you what they look like. So I just made everything fractions, so I'm now doing this. Simplify before you multiply. So we're looking for a way to simplify. So 3 and 2, nope, 3 and 3. What does that make? 3 divided by 3 is 1. That one's 1. Remember, if there's a 1 on top and 1 on bottom, they're both just 1. Look at this. 2 and 2. 1 on top, 1 on bottom. What happens when I have 1 times 1 is 1 over 1 times 1 is 1? What's 1 over 1? 1. Oh, that is the best. That was such a great answer. Let's see, this is yellow because we multiplied, right? So that's just a quick review. Now we're going to move into the real world with these problems, okay? The thing I want to do is we're going to be cutting this out and putting it into our journal. So let's go ahead and solve it here and try to keep it pretty narrow on our work so that when we cut it out, it'll fit in our journal. Okay, we're going to have to write a little small. Here we go. That means I'm going to probably zoom in for you and write a little smaller. It says, write an equation, then solve. When possible, express your answer as a whole or a mixed number. So you can't leave it as a fraction. Okay? If it's improper. If it's a fraction like this, 13/35, that's fine because it's a normal fraction. But if we would have left this, 2 and a 6th, as 1 and then 1 and 1/6, that's a mess. So they want it into a whole or mixed number. Number 26. Daniel. Just so you know, this is another nephew of mine. In fact, I told you the other day that Jacob was a nephew of mine. Daniel is Jacob's little brother. So that's fun. You should remember that for a pop quiz sometime. Okay. Daniel put some wheat flour. Oh, first of all, guess what? This is going to be in a real world situation. We're going to have to decide, is this adding? Are we subtracting, or are we multiplying? So we're going to look for keywords, and we're going to keep out all 3 of these colors just in case we spot some words that give it away. Okay? Daniel puts some wheat flour into an empty bowl. Then he adds 2/3 cup rye flour to make a total of 2 5/12 cups of flour. How much wheat flour is in the bowl? Okay, I know it says the word add, so you probably immediately jump to, oh, it's add. Let's really look at it. So he puts some flour into an empty bowl. Then he adds, we know this amount, 2/3 cup of rye flour. But then we know his total. So it says he put some of the wheat flour in there, but we're not going to tell you how much. And then they gave us a total. So they're not going to tell you how much is the X. They don't tell you how much wheat flour was in there. Then he added 2/3 of a cup into the bowl, and what did it make? They told you the total. That means it equaled 2 5/12. That's why writing out the equation sometimes can really help you understand. So yes, that's the equation here. But how are we going to find X? What are we going to do to find X? You take the total, and instead of adding to it, to find this missing piece, you do the opposite, right? This is algebra. You take away 2/3 so that you can find out what X was. So even though it says add, even in the equation, what am I going to do to find it? I'm actually going to do subtraction. So I really hope you're paying attention to some of these key words. It gave us the total and some of the amount, and they want to know the missing amount. So that's why it's subtract. In order to subtract, we stack it up with the biggest one on top. So that's 2 5/12. Ooh, I bet this might be a borrowing problem. Let's come up right here. Keep it pretty close together. There's my 2 5/12. And I'm minusing 2/3. So it looks like that. This is just like before. You have to have the same denominators. You ignore the whole number for right now. 3 and 12. 3 and 12. 12 will work, which is nice because I can just leave that one alone. How do I get from 3 to 12? I times by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Wiki wiki. Okay, this is subtraction. You ready? Let's remove. 5/12, ignore the whole number. 5/12 minus 8/12. If you only have 5 pieces, you can't give someone 8. So you have to go over to the neighbor. Why did I only knock twice? Because it's a 2. Hi, neighbor 2. Can I have a candy bar? Neighbor 2 gives you one of their candy bars. So they only have one now. Here is the candy bar they give you. Open it up like that. As you walk back to your house, you break up that one whole into pieces. I would choose 12/12 because 12/12 is one whole, and we're already working with 12ths. And now this is that combined. So in our journal, we actually wrote this step. We said, where did it go? Oh, subtraction. You might, right here, you might need to borrow and combine before you subtract. That's what we're doing right now. We're borrowing, we just did, and now we're combining what we already had, 5, and now you have 12 more. So you have 17/12. Okay? Wiki wiki. Now you can do 17 minus 8. And 17/12 minus 8/12 is 9/12. And then the 1 minus nothing is 1. I know you want to circle it thinking it's your final answer, but we didn't do step number 5. And step number 5 is to simplify or fix it if necessary. So let's look at it. 9/12, my friends, can be simplified. What can you divide 9 and 12 by? The answer is 3. If I divide 9 by 3, I get 3. If I divide 12 by 3, I get 4. So this is a Medal of Honor. Wiki wiki, you just got rid of that. I have 1 and 3/4 is my final answer here. I'm going to make the Medal of Honor in color. 1 and 3/4. So I put it in a complete sentence. How much wheat flour is in the bowl? There is 1 and 3/4 cups. You can't just say flour because there's different kinds of flour in the bowl. You have to say wheat flour. Okay, that was a pretty tough one. Let's look at number 27. Manuela has a bag containing 5 1/3 cups of sugar. She uses 1/8 of the sugar in a recipe. How much sugar does she use? If you went for subtraction, it doesn't say she used 1/8 cup of the sugar. If it said she used 1/8 cup of the sugar, then you would subtract it. But it doesn't say cups. It says she uses 1/8 of all the sugar there. So this word of and of again without having a measurement here tells you that it is multiply. This is multiplication. Are you ready? So let's go ahead and write the equation. So I'm going to do 1/8 of 5 1/3. So 1/8 of means times 5 1/3 equals x. So let's do the problem. Where is the best place for me to write? Just right here probably. Here I go. 1/8 times 5 1/3. You ready? You get to keep the 1/8 because it's a normal fraction, so wiki wiki. And you got to change 5 1/3 into a fraction. 3 times 5 is 15, plus 1 is 16 over 3. How did I know it was over 3? I hope you're singing this because the denominator is stubborn and it stays. Okay, I'm going to use my yellow to remind you to connect the bar and to simplify before you multiply. The 1 can't be fixed, but 16 and 8 can. You can divide those by a lot of numbers, but you want to pick the biggest number possible, and it's 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. That's my new number. 16 divided by 8 is 2. So I have a 1 times 2 and a 1 times 3. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 3 is 3. So she used 2/3. How much sugar does she use? 2/3 cup. So she used 2/3 cup, not plural because it's not more than 1, 2/3 cup of sugar. Isn't was so fun solving real world problems. I know you love it. Number 28. Oh, take a look at that name. I love it. Ashanti has a bag that contains 4 1/4 cups of rice. She uses 2/3 cup. Interesting. It didn't say she uses 2/3 of the rice. She said she used 2/3 cup. Guess what this is, everybody? How much rice is left? They told you how much it had. She took some of the cups of it away. So how much is left? This is classic subtraction. And I want you to underline cup this time. Okay, the equation. Start with what she had, 4 1/4. Take away the 2/3 because it was both cups. And that's going to equal your answer. So, just like we did before, we're going to stack these up. You're probably going to have to borrow. So we're going to go 4 1/4 minus 2/3. You have to get the 3 and the 4 to have a similar denominator. And it's 12. How did I get from 3 to 12? I times by 4. And 2 times 4 is 8. Wiki wiki. How did I get from 4 to 12? I times by 3. And 1 times 3 is 3. Wiki wiki. Can I do 3/12 minus 8/12? No, no, no. I have to borrow. Why did I knock 4 times? Neighbor 4. Can I have a candy bar? Sure. Now neighbor 4 is a 3. I'm going to break that candy bar into 12/12. I'm going to combine them as I go. So it's 15/12 now. Ooh, wiki wiki. Look at all that work. 15. Don't scribble it so much I can't see it. 15/12 minus 8/12. Well, 15 minus 8 is 7. And the denominator stubborn and stays. I have a whole number 3 over here. Don't forget that. A lot of people forget that. And then I have 7/12. 7/12 cannot be simplified. That is just exactly what it is. So how much rice is left? There are 3 7/12 cups of rice left. Last story problem. Are you so excited? Number 29. Seth's route to school is 1 3/10 miles long. He has walked 4/5 miles so far. Not 4/5 of that. He's walked just a little bit of the mile. So because I have mile and mile, I know I'm just going to be doing probably subtraction. So his school route was 1 3/10 miles. He has walked this far. How much farther? Ooh, that's a good word too. How much farther does he have to go? It's subtraction again, friends. Subtraction again. Not one of these was addition. So interesting. Okay, so we stack them up. 1 3/10 minus 4/5. What do you think? You think this is going to be a borrowing? It absolutely is, because 4/5 is a bigger fraction than 3/10. So I know I'm going to have to borrow. But first, I have to write the equation. So I do 1 3/10 minus 4/5 equals x. Okay, 5 and 10, that's awesome. It's 10. I want you to pause the video and see if you can finish this problem all on your own. Then come back and see if you got the answer right. If you're struggling, please stay with me and don't pause. How did I get from 5 to 10? Oh, I don't have to change that one because it's 10. So how did I get from 5 to 10? I times by 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. Wiki wiki. 3/10 minus 8/10. Can't do that. Hi, neighbor 1. Can I have a candy bar? Sure. Now neighbor doesn't have any. They gave you their last candy bar. And you're going to break it into 10/10 as you go, because that's one whole. When you get back home, you have 13/10 because you combined. Wiki wiki. And 13 minus 8 is 5/10. Ooh, I know something about 5/10. And it's 0 over here, so it's just 5/10. 5/10 can be simplified. Do you know what 5/10 is? It's a half. If you didn't know that, you could have divided each one by 5. But you should know that at this point. There it is. Oh, we didn't circle this other one in blue. Okay, if you've unpaused your video and you're checking now, I hope you got 1/2. So, how much farther does he have to go? Seth still has to go 1/2 mile. There it is. Okay, we're not going to do the check your understanding. What we're going to do now is get in our journal, turn to the back page. Get out a pair of scissors and glue. You can push pause if you need to go find those things quickly. And we're going to cut out all of the real world problems. So that's all of the story problems. Then we're going to get them glued in to our journal. So as you're cutting it out, I don't need the check for understanding. We just need 26, 27, 28, and 29. And you're going to go and try to make it as skinny as possible. So cut as close to the numbers as you can without cutting off your work. And we're just going to see how this works out. You can keep the directions. Write an equation, then solve. Like I kept. Write an equation, then solve when possible. But you want to make it narrow, so you're going to cut close to the numbers as well. Okay, you don't need these little scraps, so you can toss those. And then this is what needs to go in your journal. I was a little worried about that one, yeah. It came out too far, so I might tilt mine. Or if I put it up higher, you're going to have to work this out. Make sure that doesn't cover any holes as you get it taped in. So I could actually come down here. I am going to come down here. Just going to do it right there. Once you get that glued into your journal, I want you to find the homework and remembering 3.7 really quickly. So that needs to be glued in your journal. And then find homework and remembering 3.7. Get your name and number on both sides. Guess what? You have to do all of these problems. You will need an extra piece of paper. Please write that at the top of your paper. Please circle it. Put a cloud around it. Make it clear that you need an extra piece of paper because I don't want you to write so tiny and so messy. Here's the deal. If it's multiplication, you can do all the multiplication right here because all you have to do is put a bar underneath it, or like number 4. You have to make them both fractions, right? So you would put a 1 underneath it, and then you're going to extend and connect the bar. It's like a slope. That's okay. You check top numbers and bottom numbers. There's nothing you can do about that. So it's 24/7. It doesn't tell you that you need to change it, but Miss Fisher's rule is that you do need to simplify always if it doesn't say. So I'm gonna keep going. 7 goes into 24 3 times, and that would be like having 3 left over. So my final answer, I'm gonna leave all my work, but my final answer is 3 3/7. So if it's multiplication, I want you just to do it right here on the paper. If it's mental math, like number 8, look, I had 3 candy bars, and then someone gave me 11/12. So how much do I have? Oh my goodness, 3 11/12. So if it's a problem like that, if it's mental math like this, you can do it here. This one is not as mental math number 12 as you think, so please don't just think you know it all. I really want you to write this one out. But any of these other ones like this is mental math because the denominators are already the same. But if they don't have the denominators already the same, I want you to use the extra paper to show your work and then just write equals and put your answer here. Okay, and then you're going to staple your extra work to the back. Don't forget to read these story problems very carefully to know what's going on. Okay, look. If something is half full, this is a multiplication problem. Remember, half means to divide by 2 or to multiply by a half. You've got clues here. How much farther? Number 15. How far do they walk all together? That's a clue. Number 16. He has 3/4 a cup of flour. He wants to make 1/3 of the recipe, not a third cup, a third of it. So what does that mean? Multiply. Number 17. A truck was carrying this much. When it arrived, only this much sand was left. How much sand was lost along the way? The phrase lost should tell you subtraction. So you're going to really go through these story problems and take your time. You can show your work for story problems here and just write it in a complete sentence. It's a lot of work to do, but I know you can do it. And then on the remembering, this is why you're going to use that extra paper because you have all of these too. Look. And none of these have the same denominator. So you're going to have to stack these up and use an extra sheet of paper for 1 through 6 as well. On 7, 8, and 9, estimating sums and differences, you're just going to round to the nearest whole number. So 6.7 is close to 7. 2.0 is close to 2, right? It's closer to 7 than it was to 6 because of that. It's closer to 2 than it was to 3. 7 plus 2 is 9. They're just looking for an estimate. Okay? The same thing here. I want you to round to the nearest ones place. Round to the nearest ones, and it'll be really easy for you. And then on this, just follow the directions. You'll be okay. You don't have to do stretch your thinking. I guess I should probably help you with number 13. Find each product by first rewriting each mixed number as a fraction. So you just multiply, then add. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1 is 31 over 5 times 5/8. That's easy. Look, when multiplying, you just go straight across, right? Simplify first. 5 and 5 cross each other out. So you have 31/8, and then you're just going to fix it. 8 goes into 31. Almost 4 times, but it doesn't. It only goes 3 times, and it has 7 left over. Final answer. You got this. I know you can do it. Thanks for hanging in there. So get that thing taped in your journal, and then work on homework and remembering 3.7. Oh, yeah. There's no Think Central today either. You're welcome.